recently traveled to Japan for 10 days and I wanted to share with you guys some of my Japan pickups, given that it is one of my favorite places to go shopping, particularly for camera related stuff. There is a new camera that I picked up secondhand, and I also wanted to share with you guys the very minimal setup that I took with me to document the whole trip. So I have been eyeing off an Olympus Mu for the longest time, simply because I want a really simple, easy point and shoot film camera. And I was looking on eBay, but I thought, why not try to pick one up while I'm there? Obviously you save on the shipping costs and you can also buy tax-free as well, which helps out a little bit. I checked out quite a few of the more well-known secondhand camera spots in Tokyo, but I couldn't quite find one that was in the condition and in the price range that I wanted. And I was also looking for a particular model of the Mu. I definitely wanted the one with the prime lens and not the zoom lens. But on the last day, I decided to visit a store that I haven't actually been to yet, and I think it's called Second Base Camera. And they actually had this black Olympus Mu here. And this was pretty much the one that I wanted. It was either this or the Mu 2. I was pretty indifferent as to which one I was going to pick up. I believe it was around 18,000 yen, and it's in pretty decent condition, so I was pretty happy with that. I think it equates to around 120-ish USD. I must admit, it's pretty steep for a simple point and shoot camera, and I heard that these were routinely selling for like $20-$30 not so long ago. It's simply because film has just really come back, not just with photographers, but in the general mainstream, so that has really pushed the prices up. Now, I've only shot one roll on this camera so far because I haven't been back too long. I just shot some behind the scenes on a music video that I was helping out on recently, and a couple of little random shots here and there. But so far, I actually really like the quality of the photos. I wasn't expecting too much from this little point and shoot. It's more so just capturing in between moments and just vibes like friends, family, things like that. So one of my favorite places to visit and hang out when I'm in Tokyo is Tsutaya Books in Daikanyama. It's a massive bookstore. It's spread across 3 buildings. It has so much to look at, and while I was there I was able to pick up a few photo books that I've had my eye on for quite some time, which I was really excited about. Okay, so this is the first book that I picked up. As you can tell by the title, it's called Time Goes by Hiroshi Nagai, who's a Japanese illustrator. And I first saw this illustrator's work on I think it was like one of those Japanese city pop mixes on YouTube of all places. And as soon as I saw this style of art, I was like immediately drawn to it. But growing up on the coast, this kind of aesthetic definitely plays into a big part of like my personality, as well as like the minimalistic style. And even though this is not photography per se, I'm definitely stoked to add this one to my collection, and definitely a big inspiration of mine. I also really like the glossy finish of this book. I think it really adds to the overall effect and the aesthetic of the images. So this next one is a photo book that I've been wanting to add to my collection for quite some time. It's called TTP by Hayahisa Tomiyas. Hopefully I am pronouncing that correctly. But what I love about this project is it's just so different. The project centers around photographing this exact same ping pong table in this park over the span of about 4 years. So if you look through all the images in this book, they're for the most part a very similar composition. There are so many interesting moments in this book, and it really makes you reflect on public spaces and what they mean to people and what kind of role that they play in everyday life. And with a lot of other photo projects with one common subject matter, you often see the photographer like traveling throughout the landscapes and capturing different angles. And what I love about this is that keeping the same composition, you're drawn to the movement of the people and the characters and the overall environment around this one composition, which I just find really different and really interesting, and I really love, and I'm super stoked to have this one in my collection. Okay, so this last one is a magazine. It's more like a fashion, lifestyle kind of focused magazine, but I've been following these guys on Instagram for quite a while, and it features a lot of work from recent fashion campaigns. And these style of magazines are actually a big inspiration to my work. I love just flicking through and just kind of seeing the different decisions that photographers have made in terms of capturing these outfits and the kind of vibes and location that go along with it. And I also love seeing photos and just the way that they're laid out and the choices that the editor of the magazine has made. It's just really interesting to see and really does inform my work quite a lot. There's some really great work in here, and I just love keeping up to date with what photographers are doing in the industry. I knew ahead of time that I wouldn't really be focusing too much on photography for this trip. Being that it was a family trip, I really just wanted to focus on spending quality time with my family, as well as pretty much having to show them around because as it was their first time and my 4th time visiting Japan. But I knew that I didn't want to be stuck without a camera if I did have a morning off where I could go out and explore, or if I came across a scene where I just wish I had my camera. I think everyone can relate to, you know, being in a place or seeing a moment and not having your camera on you and just being devastated. So I didn't want to be in that situation. So just before the trip, I decided to pick up this camera. This is the Ricoh GR3X. Simply because it is tiny and it fits in my shoulder bag and you don't even notice that it's there. And I decided to go with the GR3X with the 40mm equivalent lens versus the 28mm lens. I just think 40mm is more my style. I also decided to film everything on my iPhone 15 Pro Max. And I've been using little bits and pieces of B-roll from the iPhone. Some of my videos recently actually are all filmed on the iPhone and no one really seems to notice. The quality of these phones is just really gone up in recent years, especially with the addition of that log profile, which gives you a really neutral flat base and it's really nice quality. It's not too over sharpened like some iPhone footage in the past has been. And so I'm just really enjoying the quality and the flexibility of this 4K footage coming out of the new phones. For everyone out there with the iPhone 16, you'll have to let me know in the comments section below if it's worth upgrading from the 15. I'm pretty happy with the 15 to be honest, but I just haven't done too much research into that new model, so let me know if it's any good. Let's get back to the Ricoh. This guy was super fun to shoot with. The photos coming out of this are much better quality than the iPhone. Given that it does have an APS-C sensor, there is a ton more dynamic range and flexibility to work with. I shot all in RAW, no JPEGs, and I edited all the photos with my Natura profile, and I really like the way that these 24 megapixel images came out. I basically treated it as point and shoot as possible. So where I would usually use full manual mode on any of my other cameras, I actually decided to use shutter priority. And I just set my shutter to like 1/200th of a second or something around there and just let the camera do the rest. And then I just used this little exposure comp, I don't know if you can see that, to just dial in my exposure if I wanted to get brighter or darker, depending on the scene. So as fun as it was to shoot with this camera, and I think I did get some quite cool photos. As I said, I wasn't really focusing on photography, so there's nothing in there that's like super mind-blowing. There are some definite drawbacks to this camera, and the first one, the one that I noticed the most, was the battery life on this absolutely sucks. A couple of days into the trip, I decided to pick up a battery bank just so that I could charge this camera while I was on the go. I don't think I really have high standards when it comes to battery life and things like that. I don't think I've ever complained in any review that I've done about a camera's battery life. Battery is tiny, I'll show you guys here. So that's what you get. It's pretty small and the miles per gallon is not that great. Some other minor drawbacks that I want to mention about the Ricoh is the fact that it doesn't have like a tilty screen, and so being used to having a tilt screen on pretty much all of my other cameras, it was a little bit frustrating not to be able to like fire from the hip or, you know, be more inconspicuous when shooting, especially with like higher above the head angles. It's a bit challenging. And also this wrist strap that came in the box with the camera is not that confidence inspiring. It's quite flimsy. So I will probably be replacing this with a more sturdy one eventually. But for a camera of this price, I don't know what it is in USD. I'll put it down here below. I would have thought that they would put in like a higher quality strap at least. The last thing I want to mention is the autofocus is not great, and I've been spoiled with my other cameras, so fair enough, but I don't know, just missed a lot of shots, and particularly when you're like in a hurry, let's say you just like quickly turn the camera on and then boom, 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 try to quickly get a shot. A lot of those photos are going to be out of focus. So you do need to be a little bit more patient, just kind of making sure that you get your focus. So that's pretty much it, a little recap of my Japan trip. I did have a lot of fun, and since then, this little camera has come with me pretty much everywhere. It's super easy to bring around, and taken it to a couple of beach days. I would actually be really looking forward to a new model of this camera. Not saying this one isn't great, but one with a slightly better battery would be really, really helpful. So thank you for sticking around, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like down below, and I will see you guys in the next one.